Well, these last couple of days have just been a wonderful experience. The things that I've learned, the information that I've gained, the knowledge that I have now in my bank of knowledge is starting to open up more doors, though, to more questions. And what are those answers? I want to find out. So, great start, great beginning to a wonderful trip in my life.
I'm really glad I went on the civil rights trip. I had read a lot over the last couple of years about our history and problems stemming from racism that I had never learned in school. But I don't think I could really understand the full reality of it without seeing it, more up close and personal. And so many photos and documents or videos or stories with real people really brought it home and showed just how wide and deep, racism has run in America. And just a few examples, like I never could have passed the poll test that a Black person was required to pass in order to be able to vote. And I was shocked by how common lynchings were. They weren't isolated incidents at all, but thousands of people would come out to watch, and they would buy photos as souvenirs and body parts as souvenirs, and lots of women and children were lynched. And the police and government officials were there, and not only not stopping it, but actively participating. And it was just amazing. So there really was just almost nothing that was untouched by racism. And it was really uncomfortable for us to see a lot of that history. And you kind of want to look away. But I don't think that's really the right answer either. And there was a great quote in one of the museums by Maya Angelou, which said something like, history, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but faced with courage, need not be lived again.
So a wonderful trip to Montgomery, Alabama, where we had a very impactful experience. Most impactful for us was the memorial, where the lynchings were memorialized with names and hanging structures that were very, very impactful and make you think of how terrible we are in terms of what we can do and how little we consider sometimes life, and how we minimize it to a huge extent just because of hate or indifference. And we just need to learn that life is precious, that we need to take care of it. And that's probably the most impactful thing on the trip that we learned, and that this whole process occurred from the beginning of Reconstruction, and that we just would not have the leadership within the North. That we came back home after we fought a war to end all this. We couldn't finish the job, and as a result we had lynchings for 30 or 50 years, and we continue to have to fight this battle because we did not have leadership after the war.
So hey, we're here at the National Memorial for Peace and Justice, and we just visited the Legacy Museum in Montgomery, Alabama, and quite an overwhelming experience of our nation's terrible history. I have no more words.
It's utterly devastating. It brings tears at least to your heart. And there's a memorable quote that hopelessness is the enemy of justice. Hopelessness is the enemy of justice. So we will not give up hope.
At the Legacy Museum, I learned that there are currently 3,000 children in the U.S. who are in prison serving life sentences without an opportunity for parole. That's 3,000 children as young as 13 currently serving life sentences.
I've been to 3 concentration camps over in Europe, and it still appalls me how much inhumanity there is in mankind. And this really opened my eyes. I've known for a long time that it's here in the United States, but when in a country that's supposed to be devoted to freedom, we can lynch people for no particular reason. And deny people rights just because of the color of their skin. It's just so incredibly wrong.
The trip to Selma and Montgomery with Peace Church. Sometimes you find out how much you know or how much you don't know by learning something new about a topic or a subject. And I have found out how much I don't know, how many misconceptions I have had about the slave trade and voting rights. And I, like Peter, am anxious to learn more. One of the biggest questions that I learned was, if you had been back in the days of hangings, if you had been back in the days of bus boycotts, would you have done something? And I think most people say, oh, sure, I would have done something. And then the curator who asked this question said, are you sure? Because think about it, those things are going on in a different form today. And are you doing something about it? That's it.
And when I think about facing that courage with history, I think that means, making sure that history and discussions of racism aren't suppressed in our schools or the libraries or the public square. But I also think it means standing up and taking action and getting involved.
I was amazed by how much I learned on this trip. I don't know if I wasn't taught it in school, or I wasn't paying attention in school, or it wasn't presented. My eyes were opened so much, and I can't thank Aaron and Elizabeth and the church for letting us come and experience this. And some of the museums that we went to were amazing. I mean, when they made us feel like slaves and closed this door, I can't imagine being in this dark, dark room for a week, a month, 8 weeks, in this pitch black room in muck for that long and still surviving.
I am in awe of the spiritual strength, the faith, and the courage of ordinary people to march in the face of brutality for voting rights and civil rights, and to be treated as human beings, and to do this not just for themselves, but for us and for the future. It's amazing.
And the highlight of the trip for me was seeing how so many ordinary people called the foot soldiers were able to accomplish great things just by hard work and good organizing, and really change things that nobody at the time, I'm sure, ever thought could possibly be changed. So that I found very inspiring. And so just wrapping up, I would definitely recommend the trip. I think it's a great opportunity to learn more, get involved, and really also enjoy some fellowship time with other friends at Peace.
I've been struck by two things. One, I'm so proud that these memorials have been added since the decade that Richard and I lived in Montgomery in the 90s. And secondly, I've been struck by not so much the leaders of the civil rights movement, but by all the people, the thousands of people who were quiet presences, making a difference, bringing themselves courageously to work for justice for all. And that really gives me encouragement that ordinary people like us can make a difference.